Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for yet another episode of our health talk as we continue to learn about how to live a happy life, how to live a holy life, and how to live a healthy life. I would like to welcome you to this evening's it's evening in Algeria. So this afternoon, this morning, or this day, wherever you are, this evening's health talk. And yeah, I would really love to hear from you. So those who are joining us, tell us where you're watching us from. And if you have your questions, put them in the comments. My name is Clean. I'm a medical student studying in Algeria, and I'm very happy to be the lead host of today's show. And with me today, I have Grelou to co-host with me. So Grelou, welcome. I want to see your
Hi,
face.
Dr. Clean. Good morning. I bring you
Good.
greetings from McAllen, Texas.
Thank you. Good evening from Algeria, Constantine. Exactly. So, how are you today?
We're good. By the grace of God, we have been so blessed. So,
Yeah, that's really good. I've had quite a hectic evening. My internet has been bad, and right now I'm using my phone. So, yeah, I hope you can hear me just fine.
yes, I can hear you really good, Dr. Clean. And I'm happy to join you this morning.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you're with me today. So, um, we would like to welcome our special guest for today who will be joining us, our special panelists. And I'm going to start with welcoming Swany. She'll be joining us today as well. Swany,
Hear me okay? Oh, good morning. Can you hear me? I'm so happy to be here.
yes, we can hear you just fine.
Good. I'm very anxious to hear what everyone has to say. I always learn so much from these episodes, and I love to share what I've learned too, and it really helps.
Thank you for joining us once again. It was really wonderful the last time we had you here, and I'm really looking forward to today. Thank you for joining us. How have you been?
Um, very blessed. If you call lots of learning and lots of excitement blessed, I am very blessed.
That's very good to hear. We thank God. Okay, so our next panelist who will be joining us today, we have someone special, and she's called Arline. So right now we introduce to you Arline. Hi, Arline.
Hello, everyone. It's good afternoon here in Ireland. Greetings from Ireland. It's a pleasure to be
Thank
here
you.
today, and yeah.
Thank you for coming. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, hi. I'm Arline. I'm Arline Ibisate-Karaan. I'm based in Dublin, Ireland, and I work here as a nurse. I worked in one of the Royal Hospital Donnybrook. It's a rehabilitation hospital for the elderly and the young disabled adults. And I'm married and I have 3 children. And thank you for having me here
That's
today.
very well. Thank you for joining us as well. We're really happy to have you here, and we are so excited. I can't wait to hear from you. I'm really excited to hear what you've got for us today. Okay, so before we bring in our presenter, our special presenter, he's always special. I would like to ask Swani to give us an opening prayer.
Okay. Father in heaven, thank you so much for your invitation that's always open for help in time of need. Lord, we are coming to this show so that we can learn all that we can learn. I ask that you would be our teacher, that you would click it home into our mind and our thinking, what you would have us to know and to understand about these beautiful, awesome, wonderful bodies that you made for us to house mind, so that you could dwell in us and we could hear what you have to say, and we could learn how to be the kind of people you want us to be. I thank you for this opportunity and ask that you would really put your arm around us and teach us many things. In Jesus' name we thank you. Amen.
Amen. So today we are going to be learning some wonderful tips about lung health. And yeah, we all know our lungs, they are so important. And so today we are going to be learning so much, and we'll be given some good tips about how to maintain some good lung health for good health. And so to welcome our presenter, I'm going to ask Grelou to give a short biography of our presenter for today.
Okay. So our presenter for today is Dr. Tamayo. He has a PhD in biomedical genetics and nutritional biochemistry. He is a biology professor at South Texas College. He teaches human anatomy and physiology, as well as nutrition and diet therapy. He has given lectures on plant-based nutrition locally here in Texas and in other states, as well as in Canada and the UK, as well as his home country, the Philippines. He is the founder and speaker of Health Speaks Wellness Seminar, dedicated to sharing the Seventh-day Adventist health message. He is a loving son, husband, father, and above all, a man of God who is very passionate about sharing the health message. So let's welcome Dr. Tamayo.
Hello, Dr. Tamayo. Welcome.
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm so glad that we are back to Health Talk Jesus Live.io, and I'm so excited to share what we have been learning so far in our health talks. And while I'm presenting, I'm also learning at the same time with you and among our audience. I'm right here, as you can see. You can see my laboratory here, and this is, I would say, an instructional lab wherein we teach our young people to be dedicated and very efficient workers, healthcare professionals. So we are laying down the foundation for them, anatomy and physiology. So this is anatomy and physiology lab. And then we have also microbiology and some others. So I'm so excited that I have a buddy here as well. So this is my buddy if I come to the lab. So he is saying hi and hello to everybody as well.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Okay.
Tamayo. We are so happy to have you here. It's always wonderful, the things that we learn from you. And today I'm really excited about the body that you have behind. I can actually see the lungs from here. So, Grelou,
Yes.
would you like to? Okay, would you like
Okay.
to
Yes.
explain to us how today's show is going to be?
Okay. We have some questions for Dr. Tamayo here, and I would like to start it off. Dr. Tamayo, in reference to the anatomy and functions of the respiratory system, why is it important for us to attend to our lung health?
All right. Thank you so much for the question, Grelou. We endeavored to have to do away with the usual lecture type presentation, this time with a PowerPoint presentation, but we would like to have this as an interview presentation. So we have this interview format, and such that we would like to see to it that you will better learn with us through this interview. And so, as Grelou asked, with reference to the structural, the anatomical, and the functional aspects, why is it that it is important for us uh, to take care of our lungs? So if we take care of our lungs, we are actually taking care of the whole body, in fact, because it is just like any other organ of the body. Our lungs should be should be given utmost care. If we take care of our eyes, if we take care of our heart, if we take care of our hands, what else do we take care? Even our hairs, our hair, right? We pay attention so much on the hair and other parts of the body. We equally understand that there should be an equal attention to the lungs as well. Have you ever imagined that if you don't have lungs, there is no life, right? Why is it so? Because here, it is through our lungs that we are able to sustain the life of all body parts. So, of course, we know that food is so important, right? We bring in the life-sustaining, energy-filled food through our mouths, right? And in our presentations, we emphasized on the importance of food, and that we emphasize also on the importance of chewing the food, having the food being digested pretty well. But did you know that there is no essence about the food by itself without the oxygen that is coming into the body through our respiratory system? So every time when we breathe, okay, we are ensuring that the body is able to make use of the food that we have eaten. Because in fact, if we bring in the needed oxygen into the lungs, and then the lungs will bring it in, and that you will see that the oxygen will be picked up by the hemoglobin that you find in the red blood cells, okay? And that this one will go back to the heart, and then the heart will pump it to the other parts, to all parts actually of the body. Now, when this oxygen is delivered into the cells, actually there is an important work of the oxygen there. It is there to complete the oxidation reaction, as we call it. It is there to complete how the energy currency of the body is going to be made. So we are familiar with the Krebs cycle. We are familiar with the electron transport system, so that in the electron system, at the end of it, there is what we call the final electron acceptor, which is oxygen. In fact, we call this as the aerobic respiration, in a sense that you need oxygen in order to complete the process of energy production. In fact, again, if there is very low oxygen, the formation of energy is not going to be very efficient. If energy production is on an anaerobic respiration, as we call it, we cannot efficiently make use of the glucose that is supplied into the cells. So you see, the body is going to make the glucose available as the primary source of energy, right? So when we eat, we are supplying the body with glucose primarily as the main source of energy here. It gets into the cells, and where will the glucose go? when it gets into the cell, it gets into the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. Now, without oxygen, the glucose, even if it is in the powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria, there is not an efficient way of energy production. In fact, every molecule of glucose, you would be able to make 36 ATPs with the presence of oxygen, as compared to only 2 without the presence of oxygen. Now, I would like to ask my body to present himself here. All right, so hello, model. So he is our model. So I would like to show here with you the respiratory system. Basically, it starts from the nose, right? So we have the nose. So we inhale the air, and then it goes through the throat, and then from there it passes down through the tube here. This is a long tube, which we call it as trachea, and then it goes to the lungs. Now, so you have this lungs, you have the right and the left lung. So we have a pair here, but you will see also that with reference to the sizes, the left lung is basically smaller, and it has a little groove here in order to give it space for the tip of the heart to be occupied. Now here, you would also notice that there is a muscle here. This is a diaphragm. So this is the major respiratory muscle. But just for you to note here, let me show you here that there are also muscles here between the ribs. So you have the rib cage here, and they also perform in the respiration process. When you inhale and exhale, they also be important for the respiratory process. But primarily, we have here the diaphragm. And that I would like to show you here. If we open this model, I have another assistant here. If we open this model, you will see the close connection between the heart and the lungs. Okay, so you will see here from this, the trachea, and then it goes down to the lungs. So you will see here that there are two branches here, the main branches, and then they would branch out here going into the lungs. Okay, and then we have the diaphragm here. As we said, this is the main respiratory muscle. There are more details of this, but I would also like you to note here how they are closely related to the heart. You see, when the deoxygenated blood comes into the heart, it would pass through the heart and then it goes to the lungs, where the deoxygenated blood would be oxygenated, and it goes back to the left side of the heart, and then it is pumped out to all parts of the body. Now, I have also another model here showing you the inside of the lungs. So we have here, you see these are now very small compartments, very microscopic compartments inside the lungs. We call this as alveoli or air sacs, where you could see here that they are actually surrounded with a lot of very, very microscopic blood vessels. And so these microscopic blood vessels actually are the ones that would bring in the deoxygenated blood into these compartments. We call this as alveoli. And then from there, they pick up the oxygen and have the carbon dioxide be exchanged. So the carbon dioxide is exhaled, oxygen is picked up through the hemoglobin of the red blood cells, and then they would be brought back to the heart for distribution to all parts of the body. Now, with reference to the question, now why is it necessary for us to take good care of our lungs, and in general, the respiratory system. Of course, again, there is no energy production without oxygen. So there could be an energy production, but yet the energy production is not so efficient. You need oxygen as the final electron acceptor in the formation of adenosine triphosphate, which is the major currency of the body. So without ATP, there would be no functions of all the parts of the body, even the brain. The brain is very sensitive to low oxygen level, and so it's also very sensitive to low glucose level, low energy level. That's why, in order for you to think well and have proper functioning of all parts of the body, where the brain is the major controller of all bodily functions, you have to have a healthy lungs, both right and left.
Dr. Tamayo, what could happen when our lungs have a poor efficiency?
All right. Yes. Thank you for that follow-up question, Grelou. You see, if we don't take good care of our lungs, we will have primarily first thing that we will feel is that we will have poor energy level, very low energy level. We could be easily fatigued, in other words. Why? Going back to my explanation earlier, that we don't have so much amount of energy, the mitochondria is not going to be efficient in making the energy, because if with poor lung health, there would be low oxygen delivery to the cells of the body. And of course, it is very much connected with some nutrients, as we will be telling you, that as part of lung health, it's not only about vitamin C, but it is also about taking the key mineral for the distribution of oxygen to the body. And what is that key mineral? That's iron, right? Iron. So if a person has anemia, for example, the low oxygen carrying capacity of the hemoglobin or the red blood cells in general, so you will have also fatigue, general body weakness. All right. And probably I would ask Swany to help me on this. What could be the repercussions? Why, if we have poor lung health, what could be the consequences in our general health and well-being?
There are several that I can think of. A cloudy mind, not able to, our muscles don't want to work right. We don't sleep well. We get, like you said, too tired too quick. We don't think right. We can't perform our tasks as quickly and efficiently as we could have otherwise. We develop metabolic acidosis along with some of the other factors that may be contributing. Oxygen is such a neutralizer of waste product. And one of the biggest, if I may add this, one of the biggest blessings as far as having a good amount of oxygen in our body would be movement, exercise. And I'm sure you'll probably go into that a little bit later. Maybe I should wait till then. But at being a neutralizer of waste material, our lungs suffer a lot from lack of oxygen, in that they'll build up waste material in the linings of our whole inner lungs. That includes in the alveoli. And a lot of these waste products, or should I say environmental toxins as well, can cause the lungs, the real estate of the lungs, to either expand or contract, where we can't get good oxygen exchange and carbon dioxide exchange. So we're not getting rid of waste, and we build up and it add to the metabolic acidotic problem that we have in today's world.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Swany, about metabolic acidosis, because you see, if a person has low oxygen level, there will be a buildup of carbon dioxide in our systemic circulation, in the blood per se. And that if there is a buildup of carbon dioxide, then the pH of the blood will become pretty low. So that is what we call then acidosis, and it affects the whole body. Yes, when the pH goes very low and it becomes very acidic, or acidosis, or acidemia as the others would call it. So there would be an effect to all parts of the body. That's why we have cloudy mind, as Swany mentioned, that if we have systemic acidosis, it prevents the brain to be at topmost function. And also it affects other parts of the body, such as those endocrine glands. So it affects our hormones, and that this is actually one of the culprits why people are very susceptible to developing infections because of systemic acidosis, developing inflammation, developing all others, even hormonal imbalances if a person is not exercising because of poor oxygen delivery, then the person may develop some hormonal problems. Okay, so there are just going to be a cascade of events if we don't take care of our bodies, if we don't take care of our lungs. There would be cascade of reactions through the systems of the body, and all parts of the body would be adversely affected.
You have mentioned that we have to take care of our lungs. I've heard it over and over again. You've been saying we have to take care of our lungs. So please tell us, how do we take care of our lungs? What do we do to ensure that our lungs will be in good shape?
Yes, thank you so much for the question. You see, uh, the lungs should be basically dependent upon movement and activity. As Swany mentioned, that the lungs actually thrive on movement and activity. So the first thing that I would like to point out here is that we have to exercise and expand our lungs. So that's the first one. Because you see, there could be toxin buildup in the lungs when we are exposed to pathogens, when we are exposed to impurities in the air. We have to see to it that we expand our lungs in order to move out the toxins, those buildup of carbon dioxide. At times it could be carbon monoxide. And so we have to exercise. In fact, part of the aging process, as they say, is that we can lose flexibility of our lungs. We can lose, as I showed you here, that the muscles, the diaphragm, and the flexibility of the lungs to expand will basically be dependent upon the flexibility of the rib cage as well. So that if we don't exercise, we lose that flexibility. We lose that youthful flexibility of the lungs. So that in order for us to be able to expand the lungs, we have to exercise regularly for at least 30 minutes a day. Okay, others may start from there, 30 minutes, but then they can go up to 45 minutes for the following week or so, and then they increase it to 1 hour, and then they increase it up to 2 hours every day. Now, what type of exercise should they do? It should be something that is aerobic in nature. Aerobic in a sense that you would be increasing your heartbeat at the time that you are exercising, and the lungs would expand, and they would work harder at the time that you are exercising, and that the autonomic nervous system kicks in here, wherein the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous systems would be at play here, particularly the sympathetic nervous system, wherein it increases the heartbeat, it increases the respiration, and at the time when there is an increased respiration from 15 to 20 minutes per breaths per minute, it will go up to 40 to 60 breaths per minute. And what is the essence here? You are improving the circulation. You are improving the delivery of oxygen to the different parts of the body. And that after that, when you get back to rest, when the parasympathetic nervous system will come back in to put back the normal functions of the body, you would easily breathe much more. So exercise is so important. The rib cage will expand. The air sacs are filled with gas. You see, showing you these air sacs again, and the lungs. So for example, here you have the lungs here. If you exercise, you are actually expanding the lungs, and you will be filling up even down to the base of the lungs. And you will see here that the air sacs, most of the air sacs are then going to be filled up with air as you expand your lungs and as you are exercising. Again, it is important that exercise, movement, and aerobic exercises, activities would improve your lungs. So that's the first one, exercise.
Dr.
Now, the
Jerry,
second, yes.
could I enlarge on what you just said with an incident that just happened
Yes,
recently?
please, Swany, please
To
go
bring
ahead.
that home to all of us who may not have experienced anything that we can really put our finger on as lack of oxygen. That can change if you will just really let your breath go in slow and deep until you can't get any more in, hold it, and then let it out slowly. And just repeat that for a while. And after you've done that a bit, you begin to see a real strong difference in the clarity of your mind, your energy level, how you can see, how you can think and process. And just the other night, just to bring this home, my husband, I came upstairs here to check on him because he'd had a really severe accident, and he had a spine injury, and he'd had a concussion, and he'd had a broken rib, and he had bruising on his abdomen from deep pressure crushing type wounds. And I heard him, he could barely function, not think straight. He didn't really know for sure where he was and what he was really doing, and yet he was still kind of sort of functioning. And I'm going, oh my word, what is going on? And so I finally get him to where he'll lie down, and he goes immediately off to sleep, but his breathing is really off. It's almost like Shane Stoke breathing. It was labored breathing. And I'm going, Lord, what is wrong? And I was needing some help. And so I called my friend, my Dr. Mark here, and he said, give him some oxygen. He'd been on his feet, and this was about 4 days after the accident, because he could walk a little bit, and he was trying to do just a little bit of movement that didn't cause him much pain. Well, when I put the oxygen on, within about 2 hours, he was back to his normal self. He had just stood too long, not doing a lot, but a few things that he could do, just trying to get some movement. And so from then on, after getting that oxygen back to his brain and to his body, and he began to function quite well, then we limited his time up, because when you're up on a wound, you begin to swell a little bit because it's not got enough healing going on. And that swelling really shut down everything in his body, including his breathing. especially with the injury to his broken rib that's already compromised in breathing. It made such a difference on his ability to perform because he wasn't getting enough oxygen. When he got more oxygen, then everything began to go back to normal. So now with walking, which he can do, walking keeps his brain sharp, and we don't have any more problems with that much at all unless he overexerts. So that shows us what walking will actually do, even in trauma. If it's something that is allowable and can be done, then it's very healing because it really increases the amount of oxygen. That's good enough for now.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, Swany, because you see, oxygenation is so important in the healing process. Whatever type of inflammation, whatever type of injury, inner or external, oxygenation is important. Even for cancer patients, you see, they need to increase their oxygenation there in order to do the process. And you see, as you are exercising, you are increasing oxygenation to all parts of the body. And as I said, as you are expanding, you are bringing back the youthful functions of the diaphragm, the rib cage, the muscles that are engaged in the respiratory functions, and that with that, as you exercise, you are going back to your youthful breathing, youthful heart, and on and so on. And we know that as we become more youthful, getting over different types of infections, diseases would be very easy because there is proper oxygenation. All right. Now we will be talking much more about deep breathing later, because that's part of the practical tips that we are going to show you. And then, of course, the second practical thing that we have to do is we should never bring in unhealthy habits into our system. Let's not do them. For example, smoking. So it is time for our viewers, if you have been smoking, it is time to quit smoking. And if you haven't tried smoking, that's the better way. Don't ever attempt to start the unhealthy habit. Don't ever smoke. And of course, you have to avoid your exposure to pollutants. Why do we do that? Because you are avoiding certain diseases, respiratory diseases. Of course, we all know about the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, pulmonary fibrosis, asthma, respiratory infections, emphysema, and so on and so forth. So if we have unhealthy habits such as that, then we would lose lung function, lung health. So do away with all of this. If you have been smoking, and if you don't, if you are convicted to stop smoking, please let us know. Contact us through the Health Talk. All right, so that we can help you. We have helped a lot of people, even with those who have been smoking for the past 30 years, 40 years. I witnessed some of our wellness participants that in just a few days, 3 to 7 days, they were able to take out their smoking habits in just a few days without any complications, no withdrawal syndrome whatsoever. And we have witnessed this by the power of God. So please avoid all this smoking, exposure to pollutants, and exposure to secondhand smoke. You see, if somebody is smoking at home, okay, please tell him, don't ever smoke again, because the household could be a victim of that. And I hope those smokers who are affecting others will be bothered by their conscience that they should stop smoking as well. And of course, we see to it that we avoid these pollutants. So where do we exercise? We have to exercise in not polluted areas. We don't exercise in polluted areas such as in heavy traffic. And of course, we have to see to it that we have some ways to do away with indoor pollutants. You see, many of the houses here in the U.S., if not all, many of the countries all over the world, they have closed houses. And with these closed houses, there would be some stale air coming in and out into our lungs. And that, how do we have some natural purifiers there inside our buildings, in our houses? Let's bring in some plants inside the house. And these are natural purifiers in order to do away with any of these pollutants. All right. Now, the thing is that we have to avoid all this. We know smoking, for example, has a lot of toxic chemicals that we are bringing in. Nicotine, for example, carbon monoxide, tar, and so on. In fact, they have identified that there are more than 300 dangerous chemicals that we are putting in along with the cigarette smoke that we put into our lungs. So let's do away with the smoking and all of these pollutants. Now, the third one is for us to prevent infections. Now,
Dr.
maybe Swany can help me on this. Yes, Dr. Clean?
I've got a
Yes.
question before you move on to the next one concerning smoking. Recently, we've noticed a trend that people don't really smoke tobacco that much, but then there's something that has come up called vaping. And most of the times, when you tell somebody who's doing that, they say, it's not harmful for me, it's just water and some fruits or whatever it is that is in there. So, could you say something about that, how harmful it is, like for lung health?
Yeah, vaping is also the same thing as smoking. Yeah, it's basically the same because they administer it through their respiratory system. Okay, once you put in any of these toxins through the respiratory system in any way, it's still very toxic to the body. So it's the same thing as smoking. Then they just modernized it in a way, and they made it something like socially acceptable because in vaping there is no smoke that is coming out to the air, but they are bringing in the toxins much more. In fact, the effect would be, I would say, tenfold with that practice. So they modernized it in a way that it may be acceptable, but in fact, the body is not accepting it pretty well. It is still the same thing as toxin. And thank you
Can
for
I
the
add?
question, Dr. Clean. Yes, Swany, please.
I would like to add too that that liquid smoke that they use for flavoring and putting on our foods is still getting smoke into your body, but now it comes in from another angle. And it has just as much damage from that angle as it does if you were to breathe smoke. It's just a different part of our body.
Yes. All right. Let's move on to infections, preventing infections. And our nurses can help me here. Most of you are in the healthcare professions, even Dr. Clean. You can help me on this preventing infections, including hand washing, the wearing of face masks, practice of personal hygiene, and so on and so forth. In fact, wearing of face masks could be done in such a way that we are preventing ourselves from extracting the infectious agents, including the virus. And wearing face masks has become so popular and very common with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic. But yet, if you are in an open air, if you are in a safe environment, you can just simply remove your face mask and have your lungs expand. Okay, breathe deep as much as you can. I have seen there are people who are in the mountains, on top of the mountains, where supposed to be the air is fresh, and they are still wear face masks when they are in the beach. Just this morning, I was chatting with my daughter, who is now visiting in Florida with her friend, and I saw them. They are walking by the beach, and I told them, "Where are you? Uh, why are you wearing your face mask? And it's fresh air. It's supposed to be that all the impurities have already gone down to the sea." And she said, "No, that we can breathe, or we can smell something awful." So they said they are wearing their face masks. That as much as possible, we have to prevent infections. Droplets, for example, should be prevented. Droplets of the mucus that may be found in the air could affect our lungs. And so we have to see to it that we do all this hand washing, wearing of face masks in situations where it may be possibly we are possibly getting the virus at high load. Okay, if there is a high viral load in the air, then yes, we prevent all this. But yet, I have one thing that I like to point out here, that at times we have to have our bodies be exposed to certain pathogens at a particular level. Why? Because we are building our immune system. As long as we don't have any underlying conditions, such as diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have to take necessary precautions still, but yet allow the lungs to expand in certain situations where it is very safe. Yes, maybe all of you may come in and help me out on this and preventing infections, which is the third tip.
I have something that I would like to add to that. For a fact, if we keep a strong immune system that is healthy and functioning, then all of our organs, they each one have their own little way in which the immune system works in them. And the one in the lungs, especially, it's a big load of trauma from its environment. But still, if your immune system is strong, and to keep it strong, you would do all of the 8 laws that God has given to us. For God has promised us that none of these diseases would be ours if we would cherish those laws to do them and to keep them. He would keep us in perfect health. He's pledged himself to keep this body in perfect working order if we will come into harmony with those laws. So a strong immune system is when we are learning and applying the rest, the fresh water, and all of the ones that we would like to be able to present today of the various applications of those. The one that I know works extremely well is some herbs that help to strengthen the immune system, help it to heal itself, because like an autoimmune response is a poor immune system that's not educated correctly, and it's not working efficiently, and so it doesn't recognize the real truth of the matter and begins to attack us. So when we have a healed immune system, one that's been given the tools so it can do what it knows how to do, it will retrain and learn how to be strong. And then we could go anywhere, even with Ebola or MRSA or any of these baffling viral bacterial type infections, and they're not going to touch us. So a strong immune system is what God has intended us to have to prevent these kinds of diseases.
Yes, and thank you for mentioning that, Swany, because there are a lot of people with the coming of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. People are gripped with fear. Why? Because many of them are not ready. Their immune system is very, very low. They have all these different diseases. They have emphysema, they have diabetes, they have cardiovascular disease, and so on and so forth. Why? Because their immune system is very low. And thus, we don't basically fear of any of these infectious agents if we have our immune system working pretty well. And we will point out that one again in the next tips. Now, the fourth one is do deep breathing. Swany mentioned about deep breathing earlier because deep breathing would clear your lungs. It will create a full oxygen carbon dioxide exchange. And there is what we call vital capacity. If we do deep breathing, we are increasing our vital capacity. What is this vital capacity? It is the maximum amount of air that we exhale. It is the maximum amount that the body the lungs would be able to exhale. So what is this something to do with inhalation? If we have improved breathing, if we do deep breathe, there will be so much air that we are able to inhale, and that if you are going to exhale, there would also be so much air that you are going to exhale. Now, what is the significance of this? If we do deep breathing, we are bringing in fresh air, fresh oxygen into our lungs and into our systems of the body. And so there is no stale air in the lungs. So do some deep breathing. Now, how do you do deep breathing? You have to breathe slowly. Inhale slowly, and you have to feel that your rib cage is expanding, and that you also have to feel that your diaphragm is moving down, as I would like you to see again. Here, if you inhale, your diaphragm should go down. It should have to go down, okay? All right, and if it goes down, your lower tummy would expand. So that is what we call diaphragmatic breathing. So you can only do that if you are able to have this lower part of the tummy to expand. May I demonstrate it? I hope you can see me clearly. So here, I have here, from here, if I breathe in, this one, if you watch my hand moving, so it will move. And then if you exhale, you have to slowly exhale. And then you would also see your rib cage expanding. And I don't know if you could see from my back. If you try to see at the back, you will see here. You will be inhaling and exhaling. So here, you see this this part of the rib, this lower part of the rib here, is actually just a Y shape like that. And you may ask, why is it that the designer of life made it so? Why? Because this would allow this part of the rib cage to expand. It would be able to flare up, so that if you inhale, this would increase, and that you exhale, this would become smaller, okay? So that's how you do deep breathing, in such a way that you do inhale slowly, and then hold it. If you can hold it for a few seconds, about 10 seconds, then release it slowly. As you have spent some few seconds to breathe in air, you will double at that time when you exhale. So for example, if you are inhaling for 10 seconds, then you breathe out for about 15 to 20 seconds as well as you exhale. That's how we call diaphragmatic breathing or deep breathing. So you can improve lung health by doing deep breathing. And that aside from this, you have to practice belly laughs together with deep breathing. Belly laugh. If you laugh, you have to see to it that your diaphragm, your belly is moving. All right? Belly laughs, as we say. In other words, you have to be true about your happiness, your joy. So belly laughs would be important. Reading aloud is so important as well. You see, reading aloud in such a way that you are actually expanding your lungs, you are doing proper breathing. You breathe in between phrases as you read, and then you breathe out as you are saying the words in the sentences if you are reading aloud. So it is important for you to read aloud, speak loud and clearly as much as possible. And then singing. Singing is so important in lung health, along with deep breathing, because if you are singing, you are actually doing some deep breathing. If you sing, and then if you breathe in between phrases of your songs, then you are expanding your lungs. You are deep breathing in such a way. And as you are singing it out, you are exhaling and then deep breath again. So that's actually one of the secrets of our good singers. If you want to sing better, you have to expand your lungs, do some deep breathing, and you have to sing with your heart's content. All right, and at the same time, you have to hum also, practice humming. Last time I mentioned about the vagus nerve. If you practice humming and singing, you are increasing the efficiency of your vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is the one that connects the brain to the internal organs and vice versa. All right. Number 5 is for us to maintain proper posture. I don't know if from the panel you have any questions, Grelou, Dr. Klein, if you have
Okay,
questions on.
I was going to ask about posture and its effect on your deep breathing.
Oh, yes, yes. Posture is so important. Thank you for that, Grelou. So if you maintain proper posture, if you are even sitting, if you are sitting, you don't slouch. If you are standing, you have to see it that your back is straight. Okay, posture is necessary. Now imagine yourself if you are slouching. Okay, what happens to your lungs and to your abdomen and to your major breathing muscle, your diaphragm, and also the intercostal muscles that help in the expansion of the rib cage. What happens if you are slouching like this? You are actually crumpling the lungs, so they are crumpled, and then this one is crumpled as well, and you cannot breathe well. So what happens is that you would be rendered a shallow breather, and many of us are shallow breathers. We just slouch like this, and we don't like that to happen. So in order for you to be able to expand your lungs, you have to straighten up and then sit up straight and be able to breathe freely, because posture is so important. You never allow yourself to be slouching. You have to have proper posture. Now, in relation to this, with proper posture, there are people who are slouching because their body is so big, in a sense that they have some excess weight there. You see, if you imagine that there would be some excess fat here and here around and everywhere, and you have a big tummy in such a way that your diaphragm cannot expand. That's why I'm emphasizing the diaphragm. It cannot go down. It cannot expand because there is so much baggage underneath here. So if you have belly fat, then you see to it that you trim down to your ideal weight, because you cannot do proper posture, you cannot do proper breathing if you have any of this excess weight. So you have to lose weight. Go back to your ideal healthy weight. Okay. So proper posture at any position, even if you are lying down. There are people who are putting a lot of pillow at their back, and then they would be rendered slouching like this, even when while they are asleep. And then there are those who would go to their side. Even if you are lying on your side, be sure that your back is still straight. Don't slouch like this, okay? So that your breathing will not be affected. Whatever position, wherever you are, you see to it that your lungs would be fully expand and that you are breathing in freely, going in and out for the air for you to oxygenate your body. All right. Any follow-up questions on this, maintaining proper posture from the panel?
Okay,
All
Dr.
right.
Tamayo, question.
Yes, Dr. Clean, please.
So, looking at the fact that proper posture is very important for lung efficiency and all, what would you advise for like situations whereby people come across a person who's having difficulties in breathing? The advice that you would give, like, how are they supposed to, in what position are they supposed to put the person to help with their breathing to help them to have much more efficiency and much more air into their lungs?
There are those who have problems, for example, if their lungs are filled with fluid, okay? Now, there are, especially for cases of emphysema and then cases of other lung infections, they have them on a position in such a way that they would be able to breathe better and that they are able to push out some excess fluid from the lungs. So that's the position that they do. Maybe Swany can help me on this, or any of our nurses who have been exposed here. If you have any experience in ICU, Swany.
Well, Dr. Jerry, I have some experience, but it didn't come from ICU. It came from some old um, um, therapies that I read about from Battle Creek, Michigan. And that was, of course, the positioning, as you named, but then percussion on top of that. And I had learned that actually in nursing school in North Carolina when I originally took my nursing. And we were doing that in the hospital, and they don't do that in hospitals anymore. But that does help to get rid of fluids. There's two other things I'd like to add to that just very quickly and briefly. One is an herb that I know is quite questionable in places where they don't understand herbs or they only have herb formularies to go by. And it's called lobelia. We've used lobelia for a cumulative amount of time between Dr. Christopher, Dr. Schultz, myself, and a number of others. We have used it internally and externally to relieve smooth muscle tension or spasms. It would get rid of even seizures. It'll stop grand mal seizures. But when you rub that in over a tight muscle, it relaxes it. If you rub it into the lungs, it will go in and help open up alveoli. It's a 911 herb to actually relax the spasms in the lungs and open up the lungs. And it's worked beautifully for the last 20 years for us with no downsides. And one last thing, I did not realize this until I married my husband, who is a masseuse. And there is a massage that will definitely affect the lungs. The lungs collect heat, and then it's in because of inflammation or infection. Either way, it's still too much heat, too much congestion, and we've been told about how the blood will congest in the chest or the abdomen or the head. And you must get rid of the heat, and you can get rid of the congestion. And so now, with his knowledge and experience, we have watched not only pneumonia go away with an hour's or an hour and a half of massage, but also asthma. We just had a gentleman here in the office who was a firefighter, And he has done enough of that firefighting that his lungs just aren't working right. And he would get so wheezy and so tight that he could hardly breathe, just with perfumes or dust or things that you wouldn't even think of that would be brought into his shop. And boy, within minutes, he couldn't breathe. And so he came here, and I heard his lungs as he was walking around talking. And I said, you got to have Sean work on you. And so we had Sean work on him, and he worked on him for about 45 minutes. And his lungs cleared up from their wheezing to where he could get on the airplane and fly where he needed to go. And periodically, a massage like that actually helps to strengthen the lungs. There is something healing about getting rid of that congestion and letting good, clean, fresh blood come in, oxygen exchange take place. That's healing. Very interesting concept. We actually teach it at medical missionary school.
Wow, so that's a very important one. There is a certain massage to take away the congestion, and also maybe you can tell us a little quickly on using how is this steam inhalation and other things to do away with congestion for people who have difficulty breathing.
Sorry, I had to unmute my mic. Steam inhalation is really good if there is need for moisture in the lungs. With pneumonia, you wouldn't want to do that because there's already too much moisture and you're going to get rid of the moisture. And I've heard it totally go away with my stethoscope and the lungs become dry, but a normal dry. With the asthma and those irritations in the linings where the lung alveoli sacs went to spasm and close down and not stretch, there is where you need the steam inhalation. And we like to put stuff in that. Now, the best thing is something that would increase oxygen content, and that comes from the humics. It's something called NOG now. And you can nebulize that, or you can put it in your steam inhalation, and it will definitely open up alveoli, just like the lobelia would relax a seizure. In miniature, the alveoli are seizing. They're clamping down. They're staying shut, and that's like a seizure. Anyway, oxygen will relax that. Lobelia will relax that. And I've even had people nebulize lobelia.
Wow. Wow. Yes. Thank you for that, Swany. Let's move on to the last three tips because we would like also to have Arline help us here on her experience. But let me go with the last three. Keep well hydrated. That's the number 6 practical tip. Keep well hydrated. So if you are well hydrated, this will keep the linings in the alveoli thinner for efficient gas exchange. In fact, if you are not well hydrated, just like any other parts of the body, there would be malfunctioning. As you see, how the body is made up of a large amount of water, from 50% among adults to as high as about 82% in newborn babies. So what's the importance of water here? You see, all the organs of the body are bathed in water, okay? So there is fluid inside and fluid outside most of the organs of the body, and even the cells themselves have intracellular fluid, and they also have extracellular fluid. When there would be drying up of this because you are not well hydrated, that they would be malfunctioning. And also, of course, the metabolic activities would go down very dramatically because of low hydration. So we need to have proper hydration. In fact, even from the time that we have dry throat, that is already one major symptom that we are not well hydrated. We are dehydrated in that case. And so much of the natural killer cells would die out with dry mouth and dry throat. and that if there is an infective agent there, it may proliferate and it can go down to the respiratory system and other parts of the body. So be sure that you are well hydrated. Number 7 is for us to eat healthy. I don't know if you have any questions on this, but I have several of these fruits and vegetables in the raw, natural form should be eaten. For example, we have apples, blueberries, and all the berries, broccoli, cantaloupe, collard greens, and all the green leafy vegetables. They have high amount of iron. And then we have kale, ginger, which is anti-inflammatory. We use that especially for people with upper respiratory tract infections. We incorporate ginger and even garlic. And then there are those who use neem, so they just boil the neem leaves and then they drink it for basically for lung health and general wellness. And then they can incorporate some flax seeds, pumpkin, lemongrass, sage, ginkgo biloba, and so on and so forth. But generally, we have to eat well. Fruits emphasized for breakfast, and then we have the green salads for lunch, the green leafy vegetables, and then we have all fruits, vegetables, grains, and nuts in their whole natural form as we eat them, because we would like to have all the acid vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and of course vitamin D as we are exposed to the sunlight. We have to bring in all of this on a daily basis, including some other vitamins, the B vitamins, B2, B6, B12, and so on and so forth. We have to bring in some minerals as well, copper, zinc, iron, molybdenum, and so on. And they are just practically supplied through proper diet. So we have to eat healthy in order to keep our bodies functioning well. And in this case, as we are discussing about health for the lungs. And also, the last tip is for us to join together and support each other in a health and wellness network. For example, the body system, your spouse can help you, your family can help you get back to health. All right. So these are the 8 practical tips that we have to do in order to ensure that our lungs are healthy. Now, I would like to bring in here Arline, because she has a special experience here about not only on lung health, but general wellness, because she contacted me one day and she told me that she has a particular situation and that she needed some help. Here comes a support system, consulting with healthcare professionals, with health, wellness professionals at that. So she contacted me. She is a nurse, but yet she came to a point that she no longer could bear it on her own, but she needed somebody to help her, the support of the family, and of course those who are well versed on doing some changes for general health and wellness. So let's bring in Arline. Arline, are you there? All right, very well, Arline. So please tell us about your situation before, Arline. What was your case? Or what was the health challenges that you went through?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, yes. 3 weeks ago, I rang Dr. Tamayo for help, which I was looking for a long time. Before I could say anything, I just want to tell you that at young age, I had these struggles, and I was I had suffered with a lot of infections, and all those problems had the answer 3 years ago when I was diagnosed of an autoimmune disease, which I won't um, give you into details. And since the time I started to live a healthy life, I I struggled. I tried my best to be healthy, to live healthy, eat balanced diet, and drink plenty of water, have enough sleep and rest, and not to do too much work. And but my life, my lab results were fine, but I reached to that situation that I still don't feel well. I don't have enough. I don't have. I'm not satisfied with what I was, and then I still look for an answer. And until such time that I heard about Dr. Tamayo, and I was so happy that I met Dr. Tamayo. I met Dr. Tamayo about 3 weeks ago, and with the help of God, it answers all the questions in mind, and it answers all the problems that I had, and it gave me a happy and healthy life. And for 2 weeks, I've been in this wellness program for only 2 weeks, and I can feel a huge difference in my life, and never been happier. And I praise God for that.
Yeah, could you give us some details, Arlene, about what changes did you do in order to improve your general health?
With the help of Dr. Tamayo, it's a big change in my life. I've been in plant-based diet for 15 days now. 15 days. But I can see the difference when I started the plant-based diet. I already see the difference in 3 to 5 days. It was a big change in in my in my in my health, especially in my health. Even my family, my kids noticed that I've been happier. I lost a lot of weight, and before um, I ate meat and chicken and fish, but with these 2 weeks of change in my diet, it was a big change, especially in my health.
Yeah, so you mentioned about the diet change. So it's a basically
Yes.
a pure plant-based diet, plant diet in their whole form, right? And that aside from diet, what did you incorporate in your lifestyle? And also, you mentioned about weight loss, basically in relation to our topic on the lungs, the lung health. Why weight loss, and why certain other aspects like exercise on your general well-being aside from the diet change?
Yeah, aside from the diet change, I I do exercise every day, and
Yeah, so exercise, you mentioned exercise, Arlene. Exercise, um, um, so it helped you a lot in your general well being. um, and then the diet change, and you have seen that there was a big change, a big improvement on your health. Would you be able to mention some specifics about the changes that you have felt from your original situation to your current situation now?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry.
please go ahead, Arlene.
After I changed my hello? Can you
Could
hear
you
me?
please try
Sorry.
again, Arlene? Yeah, we missed some of your responses. Could you do again?
When I started to change my diet, in just 3 to 5 days, I feel the difference, and I was so amazed and so excited to tell Dr. Tamayo about the change. And on top of my diet, I do exercise at least only 30 minutes a day. And I never been
I think there is a problem with the internet connection of Arlene. That at times her sound is not working pretty well. But I could say that she has improved a lot. That aside from exercise, we incorporated in her wellness program some hydration as well. So at the start of the day, she would have full hydration of 2 glasses of pure water, not cold water, and then about 15 to 30 minutes after each meal, and even before the meals, then she has 2 to 4 glasses in between meals. So there is proper hydration that is incorporated in her wellness program. Yes, I don't know if Arlene is able to come back with her microphone on. Yeah, I think there is a problem with the connection. All right, let's just give back the microphone to our hosts, Grelou and Dr. Clean.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tamayo, for the wonderful tips on lung health and for answering our questions. I would just like to confirm, Grelou, do we have any questions from the viewers in the comments?
Uh, I haven't seen so far, but I do have some questions here for Dr. Tamayo. Is there a connection between trust in God with lung health?
Oh yes, thanks for asking that, Grelou. You see, trust in God and lung health are so closely knit because if you trust God, you will never experience any stress because a stress factor would affect the way we breathe. We cannot fully breathe, right? We cannot fully um, inhale and exhale if we are, because of fear, because of stress, we are we are cramped as a person. See, you cannot even think well. So trusting God would cause us to breathe even freely. If you are happy and you are satisfied with life, yes, you embrace life every day with positivity, with optimism, with rejoicing and gratefulness, because you are trusting God that He is in full control, and that you don't have any stress. If there would be stress, you are able to manage them because you trust that God is in full control. If there are some financial burdens, if there are some relationship issues and whatever comes, we are not stressed out. We give just everything to the Lord. Complete trust is important for lung health and general well being. We can breathe well. We can freely speak. We can freely express ourselves before God if we keep trusting Him. So these are tightly knit together: lung health and general well being, and trust in God would be both working well together for our health and well being. Thank you for asking that. Okay, I'm glad that Arline is back. You were saying something, Arline?
I'm sorry, I was lost for a while.
Yes, yeah, you were saying some statements earlier, Arline. You may state them quickly as we're about to close.
Oh yes, yeah. Um, I've never been happier to join in this wellness program. So I'm encouraging everyone to join the program and um, just call Dr. Tamayo if especially when you have health issues like me.
Thank you so much, Arline. And I'm giving back the microphone to our hosts, Dr. Klein and Grelou.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Tamayo, for today's presentation. It was really a wonderful presentation, and thank you to my co-host Grelou for being here with us, and our special guest Swany, as well as Arlene for the contributions and for the testimony. We would also like to thank you, our viewers, for joining us today. We thank you for staying with us till the end. And before we go, we would like to tell you about the topic that we'll be having next week, Monday. So, next week, we'll be talking about overcoming your carnal self. And I would like to invite Dr. Tamayo before we go to say a little bit about the topic that we're going to have next week.
All right, thank you, Dr. Klein, for showcasing what we will be talking about in our next health talk next week: overcoming your carnal self. So this has something to do with the spiritual realm where we completely trust in God, and this is in conjunction with the last question of Grelou about trusting God in connection to our lung health and in connection to our general well-being. So we will be talking more about this, how we are able to overcome our carnal self, putting too much emphasis on the nature of man, not on the nature of God. So we'll be going through that as well. So yes, thank you so much, Dr. Klein and Dr. For Grelou, and Arline. Thank you so much, Swany, for joining us, and we hope to have you back here again in our show. You have so much graced our presentation this day, this evening, or what. And I hope that you have been blessed so much.
Yes, it has really been a blessing. And once again, thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again next week for another special episode. And if you've got any questions, you can contact jesuslive.io, or you can contact any of us. If you want the contacts for Dr. Tamayo, you can contact us and we'll be able to get you through to him. So, thank you very much, and see you again next week in our special show on overcoming your carnal self. So, everybody, bye. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Bye.